Hey, what's going on, guys? Today I'm back to work on the C30 ramp truck. Today I'm going to be installing a Davit crane. Here it is. It's just a 2,000 pound Davit crane that just bolts to the bed of your truck. I originally was planning on building a crane that pivoted off this, but for the price, I got this little Davit crane for $200 off Amazon. That is the brand of it on Amazon. They sell this one for $200, and I believe they sell the same exact crane for $250. But the only thing that I can tell that is different between the two, this one doesn't have any reviews on it, and the other one does have reviews on it. But the box it comes in looks to be a lot nicer. So this is the box that it came in. As you can see, it's completely destroyed. It was all taped up. It had two pieces of thin wood in it. The box for the $250 model has a complete wood crate. And this was just two pieces of wood inside there. So I think you're only really saving on shipping for that extra $50. Because it appears the crane seems to be exactly the same as the $250 model. So what I plan on doing is cutting out this aluminum right here. I'm going to have to move this mount, unfortunately. I use it to strap down the cars. So I'm going to have to move that to get this in line with that post. And another thing, this crane, I'm going to have to highly modify it because just this main beam of the crane measures at 43 inches. And this is only 39 inches tall. Plus you have the base, which is an extra, let's see here. The base is an extra about 9 inches. Plus the top right here will stick up another, I don't know, 3.5 inches. So I'm gonna have to modify this, shorten it up quite a lot. It did come with a 5-ton ram. I may eventually be replacing it with a air over hydraulic ram. Unfortunately, it looks like Harbor Freight no longer sells the air over hydraulic rams. So I'm gonna have to find another vendor for that. I will also be adding a winch to the top. I'm gonna have to cut this off. It got rather damaged during shipping. It's pretty twisted up and bent, this little brace. And I'm gonna have to reinforce it another way, it looks like. Not that I'll ever be lifting 2,000 pounds, but I would like to have the option to. I'm going to start by getting this diamond plate cut out for this base. Ideally, I would like to cut this base off, drop this into the bed, and then weld this down a ways into it, and then re-weld this base higher up. That would be ideal. I don't know if I'm going to do that yet or not. I have a brace right here for this because this was originally going to be the mount the crane onto this, but I'm going to have to scoot this over slightly. So I'm going to have to see what I have underneath this. It's been a while, so I'm going to have to cut this off, move it. So I'm going to go ahead and get started on that. All right. Well, here's my plan. All right. So this tubing is only an 1/8 inch thick. And it looks like they just took 2 1/8 inch thick plates to build these triangle standoff. The base is, however, 3/8 thick, so it's pretty heavy duty. So my plan is cut these off, cut this around this weld, so the weld's still intact, so I'll have a bottom for this. And then I'm going to notch this about like that, and then I'll be able to sit this down in there about 4.5 inches. So that'll take off a little over half of this height, because this is 8 inches tall. So that'll give me a much lower mounting base. That'll sit about 1/2 inch higher than that. But that'll give me plenty of room to mount this swivel, and I won't have to take as much out of that main piece over there. Well, that was a pain. I cut out all of these. Apparently this one right here was actually a solid plate. Have them up here. So these are just 1/8, but this one looks like it's 3/16. So I guess they ran out of 3/16 and they just doubled it up, which is, I don't know, not very good. But I've got those cut off. Now I just have to trim around this right here with the plasma, and then I'll get the main tube welded in place, and then I'll slide this over top. I'll have to cut all this out, and I'm just going to weld this plate into place instead of bolting it in. But that is one nice thing about this vise. This plate is a little over 11 inches wide. It is a Walton, let me get out of the light, 4600, and it has a reversible jaw on it. So this piece comes out, and it's normally over on this side, but you can reverse it, and it gives you quite a bit more room. It gives you about 3.5 more inches of clamping capacity. I have this notched out. I am going to go in here and paint the inside of that, so hopefully it doesn't rust. But it's just 3/16 wall tubing. All right, so I have this tube pretty much welded in. I'm still gonna put the plate on this side all the way around, and it'll attach right through here and along this, and then around through here. So that is my plan for now. It should be pretty strong enough because it is fully supported on these two sides right here, and then with that plate being welded in right here, it should be just fine. All right, this is what I've made with my template. So I have the cutout for my stake pocket. I'm gonna have to extend this right here and right here. But other than that, that'll fully support all the way around this side. And I'll just have to transfer that template over to this right here. All right, well, I got this welded in. Now I just need to extend this right there and there, and this plate will be done. Unfortunately, that's all I'm going to have done for this evening. I'm going to start modifying this tomorrow. So I'm going to have to cut this off, probably put it about here, And then I'll cut that off, possibly. I'm not sure if I'm going to cut that off yet or not, and straighten that. And then this is going to have to be mounted farther up, so that's going to be highly modified. And then I'll decide on how I'm going to modify this. But that is all for this evening, and I'll get started on the rest tomorrow. Alright, well, I've got the angle cut out of there. This is about how much I cut off from the base. You can see here I have it tacked in place. That's obviously not all the way up. I moved it to clear that light. But it is quite a bit more difficult to swivel than I was expecting it to be, unfortunately. So I have two options. Right now, I can leave it right there. And let's see. I'm going to drop this down real fast. I would have liked it to be a bit more compact inside there. When I swivel it around, I'm going to have to figure out some kind of lock, but it'll stow away right about there, which is fine. I do like that, but another thing is I could cut this off up here, drop it down, possibly move this up so the ram is always up, and I'll give you a quick preview as soon as I get this jacked up. As for the winch I'm using the Badlands ZXR 2,500 pound winch. I mean, the crane is only rated at 2,000 pounds anyways. So the plan is to mount this up at the top. Obviously, I'm going to have to remove that brace and then reinforce it elsewhere. But this winch should be more than enough of anything I ever plan on doing. And I went with this winch. It's slightly more expensive than the other one. This was $89. But what I liked about it, it came with two different controllers. So it has a wired controller, and then it has just a regular wireless controller, which is really nice to have. And I mean, there are several upgrades, like the circuit breaker is waterproof and a couple other little things that makes it slightly nicer. The hook's removable. It came with this ring. I mean, that, and I was able to use a 25% off coupon, so I got it down to, I believe it was $77, which is only $1 more than the standard 2,500 Badlands winch. And the standard winch just comes with a wireless controller, and it's not as water resistant as these will be. So I'll have to mount these onto the back. So the plan is to mount the winch up there, and then I'm going to have to mount the controller either to the side right here. Depends on how much room I have with it rotating, or I can mount it to the back, which I don't really like just because of how short the wire is. I could always extend the wire, but it would have to mount like somewhere right here, which I'm not crazy about. But this is what I have so far. I think I am going to go ahead and fully weld the base, because worst case scenario, I can just build another bracket off of that and make one that'll fit right here if I do end up going this route, because this will lower it and make it more flush with the headache rack, because right now this sits about 5 inches, yeah, a little under, maybe 4.5 inches above the headache rack. And the headache rack is quite high already, because I plan on installing a removable roof rack, tire rack on it. So it does sit quite a bit higher than I would like. And unfortunately, I can't go any lower with how long the ram is, because if I go lower, this will just sit up higher. Another consideration I've been thinking about doing, I just don't like how wide this is right here. I would like it to be a bit more compact. And one solution to that would be to redo these adjustments, or not adjustments, but the hinge point. I would cut this off right here. I would mount this to this side, but I would extend this farther, so this will sit farther out this way, but in return, this distance will be a lot shorter. That's another thing I've been considering doing. I've got the base fully welded on. Got in there. So that's done. Alright, so I'm sleeving the top. This is where the hinge is going to mount. Previously there was just a hole drilled through the tubing like this, and it was just an open hole, and I didn't want to waller out over time. So I'm sleeving this. This will be welded on top of the base, and then the main clamping part of the hinge is going to be on here. I may use this, I'm not sure yet, but it will need to be wider, because as you can see here, it's quite a bit wider. So the plan for now is to cut this off, and then weld this on, and then possibly widen it at the end. But I'm going to go ahead and finish welding that up. I just did that side. Now I'm over here. I have the hinge mount on. I've plated the sides with 3/16. Alright, here it is mocked up. As you can see, it sits a lot more compact. This sticks out significantly less. I mean, it was about out to there. So it's much more compact now, and with the addition, I did shorten this by 2 inches, but this overall length is much taller, so this will sit even higher. That way I can get a little bit taller items into the back of the truck. Alright, here's what I'm doing for reinforcement. I have some angle iron. Unfortunately, I was wanting to run it all the way across and just narrow it up right here, but with a hydraulic cylinder, it contacts right here, so I'd have to cut all that out. So I went and put a smaller piece of angle iron into the center of these two pieces, and we'll be welding this together to give it a little bit more reinforcement. It's probably overkill, but at least this part won't bend. All right, here's the reinforcement welded in place. This will definitely do the job. Now to weld the winch bracket in place. I'm getting ready to mount the winch plate. I've welded 2 nuts to the bottom. I've drilled 2 holes into it so the bolts will clear, so it'll sit flush. And I'm gonna weld it in place. Alright, the plate's fully welded in place. I plug welded the top holes so no moisture gets underneath there. I made a bracket for my pulley. The pulley's rated at 3,000 pounds, so it should be more than enough to support the winch and whatever I use it to pick it up. With the pulley bracket installed, the crane bracket sits much lower than I was hoping it would, but that won't be a problem. All I need to do is drill a hole and slide this in just a little bit farther, and I have plenty of room to slide it in there. That said, the overall height is much shorter. It will come in just a hair more, but I mean, that is significantly shorter than it was, so I'm very happy with that. That extends quite a bit higher, but I've maxed out the ceiling height. But as you can see, I've lost very little overall height since I've shortened the main piece. As you can see, it is significantly more compact than it previously was. Looking back, I wish I got a measurement. Alright, so next on my to-do list, I'm going to be adding a locking mechanism that'll lock the crane in place and keep it from swiveling as I drive. I'm going to have to mount it about right there. And then I'm going to have to build a tab or something that'll go underneath the plate, and it'll weld to the main base. And then I'm also going to weld a stop on the other side, so it can only, so that way, in case I have something heavy on the crane, it doesn't swing the crane all the way around and into the door or into the winch or headache rack. Well, unfortunately, it looks like I'm going to have to mount my winch backwards, as it looks like it's going to hit. I mean, I could just make the mounting pin where it swings, where it stops right there. But aesthetically, I think I want it to swing all the way in. So I'm going to have to flip the winch around, which I was considering doing, because right now the cable, it comes out the bottom, and I would like it to come out the top, because I won't be using the fair lead that was provided. So the cable will come out the top if I flip this around. I'm going to go ahead and do that. Alright, here it is with the winch mounted in the other direction. Now the crane does sit vertically now, and it will in parallel with the headache rack. Aesthetically, I'm not happy with having the motor coming out all the way out here. I'll have to look how it looks when I get down there, but now the cable is going to come around the top, and it'll go through the pulley that way, which I think will look and perform much better. Alright, so I've welded in my latching mechanism. I'll latch this when I go to store the crane. And then this is my stop that'll prevent the crane from swinging too far and into the door. So what I'm just using this latch. It'll drop into there like so. I'll pull the spring up, it'll slide, it'll go all the way around, and then it'll hit right here, preventing the crane from hitting the door. Here they are painted up. I'm in the middle of drying right now. Hopefully tomorrow I'll get them installed. Making my own Zerk fitting bolt. I drilled out the center with a 1/8, about to that line right there. And then I'm going to tap the top with a 1/4 28. Here is the crane installed. I still need to run the wiring for the winch. Here's the locking mechanism that keeps the crane from swinging out. All I do is pull this up, lock it, and the crane rotates. And I can drop this down, and it prevents the crane from swinging this far, and then it'll prevent it from swinging into the door when the cab's all the way out. It's only a 3/8 pin, so if it's very heavy, it may, I'm not sure if it'll shear the bolts off first or if it'll break the stainless steel pin. That said, looks like it should work pretty good. There's also a knob that came with it to lock it in place, but I don't know that I trust that. That said, I could tighten that a little bit and keep it from, and slow it down a bit, give it a little bit of resistance. But I'm pretty happy with it overall.